Have you ever built yourself up, made real progress, only to fall back, then having to start over again? I can't tell you the amount of times I've done this. Every time I told myself I would get back into it, and I did, eventually, but starting over again and again. It's exhausting. This has bothered me for a while now, and it's made me wonder, what if I didn't stop? What if I kept going? Let me share with you my story of how I've come to build myself up only for it to crumble and then start over again. In 2020, during COVID, I hit my heaviest weight ever, 133 kilograms. I knew I needed to make a change with my health, so in 2021, I joined a private brotherhood program with weekly weigh ins and regular meetups on our Facebook page. That's when I fell in love with running. I started off running 1 kilometer, gradually to 3, and then running 5. I posted on the Brotherhood page and checked in with them religiously. In just 3 months, I lost over 35 kilos. I hit my goal weight of 98 kilos, but once I hit my target, I chose to leave the program. No more check-ins, no more community. Slowly, I slipped back and eventually stopped. I gained most of the weight and went back up to 120 kilos within several months. I stayed around this weight mostly for another 2 years. Since then, I've had moments, bursts of progress, the occasional clean diet, family weight loss challenges. My mate and I even started our own accountability group with other mates online, but it was never consistent. Then, in January 2024, I said to myself, nah, this is it. So I started my 75-day hard challenge, and I chose to read Atomic Habits by James Clear. It opened my eyes. I started building better habits and systems for 3.5 months, this time through weight training. I gained muscle and dropped 17 kilos and went down to 103 kilos. I was in the best shape I'd ever been in a long time. Then we celebrated my wife's 30th in April. We went to a resort with our family. Great memories, good times. I returned from my holiday. Slowly but surely, I fell back into my old systems and stopped again. I regained 10 kilos in 2 months. I went up to 113 kilos. A few months later, I felt it again. The itch to change. I thought to myself, I haven't tried running in a while. So I randomly looked up events and signed up for a 10 kilometer fun run, just 3 weeks out. Trained hard, stayed disciplined, ran the entire 10K non-stop, carrying 113 kilograms of body weight. Proved to myself I can do hard things. But after that, you guessed it, I stopped again. So fast forward now to May 2025, and honestly, I'm still stuck in the cycle. Despite, some of the things that I have achieved, I can't help but, think to myself, like, man, what are build-ups, guy, eh? So for those who don't know what build-ups is it's a slang, or it's a joke that we Polynesians like to use, and it basically means someone who, hypes things up. They make promises, whether it's big or small, and they just can't deliver on. And honestly, that's been me for a long time. It's funny because I, decided to name this channel Build-Ups. And there's nothing wrong with building build-ups, hyping yourself up, as long as you, follow through with whatever it is that you're doing. And I guess that's the aim of the game now, is to follow through with whatever it is that I'm doing. And so, with that being said, I've been build-ups with, gaining momentum, and then loses it, and then I stop. And every time I start again, it only gets harder. Now, I've allowed myself to be trapped in this cycle for a long time, and it's probably been more obvious, like I would say, the last 7 years. And I've really started to notice how fast time flies. And, for example, it's already been, 14 years since I graduated high school. I'm close to my 9th wedding anniversary. Most of my kids are already in primary school. And, don't get me wrong, I'm grateful. I have a full life, I have a blessed life. But inside all of that, the starting and stopping with the same goal, I can't help but, wonder, what would life be like now, if I didn't stop? Whether opportunities are missed because I didn't keep going? Probably. And what kind of husband, father, or person would I have become had I stayed consistent? And so, this isn't just a before and after transformation type story thingy, majiggy, you know what I mean? It's discovering what's on the other side of my potential self. And that's what I really want to find out. So last month in April, I decided to open up Atomic Habits again for the second time. And this time I read it with a new understanding. I guess, you can ask what changed the second time. And there was something that I realized that I was doing wrong. And it was this. I was still chasing outcomes. Even after everything that I've gone through, losing the weight, running the race, trying to look the part, it was still about, the finish line, not the foundation. And so every time, I'd hit a goal, I thought I'd change, but I hadn't. And so I still remained that same person inside, someone who was chasing outcomes, chasing results, chasing goals. And I've learned that change doesn't come from outcomes alone. Change comes from a clear identity. And James Clear, the author of the book Atomic Habits, he goes on to explain this, and he illustrates it in a way that I feel like it's really simple, this concept. And I'm gonna try and I guess relay this to you guys as best as I can. And so, have a look at this. There's a section in the book, and it shows a diagram of a target with 3 levels of behavior change. The outer layer is about outcomes. This is things like setting goals, losing a specific amount of weight, trying to beat your time in a race. The middle layer is about processes. These are your habits and systems, the actions you take to reach your goals. Things like your routines, going to the gym, or when to study. But at the very center, or the bullseye, is identity. This is the deepest layer, your beliefs, who you believe you are. Instead of starting from the outside with goals, real change starts here. It's about asking, who do I want to become? James Clear goes on to say this, that when it comes to building habits that last, the problem isn't that one level is better or worse than another. All levels are useful. The problem is our direction of change. You see, I realized I was focused on outcome-based habits, trying to achieve goals ASAP without considering the type of person I needed to become. I know it sounds cliche and all, but all along I was trying to change from the outside in. It's like fixing the paint of a car with a broken engine. Looks good on the outside, but under the hood, same old system, same old habits. But real, lasting change, identity-based, works from the inside out. It starts with identity, who you want to become. Then you build processes, your daily habits, and eventually these lead to the outcomes or results you want. So the question is, who do I want to become? Being fit, healthy, and strong is one of them. But so is being disciplined, so is being present, and so is being consistent. And so I think this is a very powerful question. I think it's also a simple question. But sometimes, when you're not clear on something, like I have been before, like I couldn't really answer this question, this simple question clearly and like straight away. And so sometimes you gotta break it down. And so what helped me was I literally had to sit down with pen and paper and write down some of the things that I wanted and some of the things that I wanted for my family. And so this is sort of where you need to peel back the layers and sort of define what kind of person you want to become overall. So not just in one area, but life in general. James Clear, he asks these questions to help break it down even like furthermore, I guess. And this is what helped me. One of the questions was, what are your principles and values? And another question is, what do you want to stand for? And so those two questions sort of helped me and what I wanted. And obviously that's going to be different with everyone. But once you're clear on your identity, I think whatever comes next, I guess, what is it? I wouldn't say it becomes easier, but it becomes more clearer on what you want to do. And, you can start building whatever it is, which are your systems and all that. So I've said this before, that this time is different. And maybe I'm being a build-ups guy. Maybe it's not. But I'm not just setting goals here. Building systems. I'm reshaping my identity, and I'm asking myself, what if I didn't stop? You see, the thing is, I already know what happens when I stop. Like, I'm literally the evidence of what happens when you do stop. Don't be a build-up guy like me. And so, but I'm excited to be. I'm excited to be the proof of what happens when you don't stop. What if I kept going? Now that's the question. And I love this question because it's not just a question. I feel like it's an invitation and not just a question, not just reflection. And so, if I stayed at what if I didn't stop, I just know I would be stuck in a regret, like I have been for a long time. And so, what if I kept going? That's the real challenge. So, what's the plan? What do I expect from myself here? Everything that I'm doing, everything that I will be doing, is basically casting votes for the type of person that I want to become. A person who is fit, a person who is healthy, a person who is strong. And so I don't want to just be this person temporarily. I want this identity to carry on for the remainder of my life. Not like the ugly ass cycle, the constant starting and stopping sort of cycle that you've seen. And so, in order for me to carry this identity, I need to build systems, and I need to build systems that fit around my family life, my work schedule, and honestly, just life in general, eh? And so, you'll see things like weekly planning, meal preps, and nothing too fancy. I'm trying to keep it simple. Um, you know, weightlifting, running, experimenting different types of training and other things. And I'll be showing also some of the other things that I've learned through the book Atomic Habits. Because, obviously I'm trying to gain better habits. My brain is just, I need to rewire it. And so in order for me to do that, I need to, gain better habits, build systems, all that sort of jazz. And you'll sort of see that in the other videos. And so I'm going to try and explain that as best as I can. And, some days I will nail it, some days I won't. But the main thing is I'm showing up. And I'm recording this so I can look back and say, this is where I chose not to stop. Not perfect, but intentional. So if you're interested, follow along and let's see if this guy's a build-ups, or let's see what happens when this guy doesn't stop.